No, I never told us. My aunt was just. So, and I haven't heard some of them lost there. So. Yeah. No, I was already like, having been excited about, we can get started. Let's do it. For phone seating, now be fair. No, you go. Everybody in the middle. Okay. Okay. And we're down here for 85. I brought out the good stuff. I know. What to do? All right, like I said, one, yeah. So that's your she could go to my office. I've been saying like we're off the internet and got some big lights. I've been surprised. All right, y'all come in and take your seat. You can go close the door. Short torso, long legs. Really tall. How tall are you? I'm 5'5", but I always have on heels. Yeah, it's very misleading. It's been right. I know, everybody says that. They're like, you're so tall. I'm like, I'm 5'5". We see a lot. Yeah, until they see another.
People think I'm taller than I am a lot, but I wear heels a lot. So I don't know, because I'm over 6 foot in a lot of ways.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming. I'm excited to have you here, and we've got 3 really amazing agents from our office that are here to talk about some of the things they're doing that are working, maybe some of the things they've done that hasn't worked, just to give you some ideas and to share with you on things you can do to help with your business. So I'm going to have each one introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their business. So I'll start with Angela.
Okay, I'm Angela Taylor, and I'm a broker associate. What did you ask about? You said
you can tell anything. You can tell about your numbers, what you did this year, what you're hoping to do this year.
So I think last year I did almost 21 million. This year I've closed 12. I think I've got another 5 or 6 million under contract, and I've got 8 listings currently, 4 more coming. So my goal every year is to sell 10 million. So we passed that in May, and I guess I'm now shooting for 22 for 22. So sure. Great job. Good job.
How long have you been with us?
I don't know, 3 years? Mike?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. 3 years.
Sure. Sounds good.
I think 3 years.
Okay, thanks. Darby.
So Darby Merriman, I've been with Keller Williams my entire career. I've been in this office a little over 2 years. I came from a different market center. I've been on a team, I've been a partnership, and I've been an individual agent. Last year, I'm usually higher units, lower price point than Angela would be. So last year I closed 44 units, 16.4 million. This year I've closed 23 for right under 10 so far.
Hi, I'm Jenny Jordan, and I have only been at this office, Keller Williams Plano, and I've been here it was just 7 years in May. I'm going on my 7th year. And my production last year was around 16.4. And this year I'm at around 8 right this second. And my goal was to do, or is to do 20. I actually only have 1 listing right now, and I have 1 in the works. And that's me.
Will each of you also tell kind of where you specialize?
Prosper.
North Dallas, mostly Carrollton, 121 corridor.
Yeah, I go everywhere almost. I mainly do West and North Texas. I do some in South. I don't go too far east, although one of the current ones I've just gotten under contract in McKinney, but I think that my business is a little bit unique because I do a lot of farm and ranch and a lot of land. And so the clientele that I receive is normally a referral. So almost everything that I get is a referral from someone else, and which is a major blessing. And so if someone needs to buy something or sell something, I travel. So I kind of have a large area. And if I didn't feel like, if you said, hey, I want to sell my house on Lake Ray Hubbard, I'd be like, okay, I need to introduce you to somebody else. But if you said, hey, I have a mobile home on 2 acres in Gainesville or in Burleson, will you help me sell it? I'd be like, yes.
Got it. All right. We're going to start off. I'm going to ask him some questions. We're going to talk about listings, some social media, branding. And then I'm going to leave time at the end where you can ask any questions that you might have of them that maybe we didn't cover. So we'll start a little bit with listings. So how do you go about getting your listings? What's your best way of getting them?
So we don't pay for leads, as far as like Zillow or Realtor or anything. When I say we, my husband, Tim, is my business partner. He doesn't work with our clients, but he does all of like, my back office documents and stuff like that. He keeps track of my numbers, taxes and all of that. So he has that piece, but, so that's when I say we, who I'm referring to as the other half of me. So pretty much all of our business is repeat clients, referrals, word of mouth. Tim has been a huge blessing in the last 2 weeks. So I'm glad you asked this because I've been wanting to like toot his horn.
Oh, good. And it's being recorded. You can play.
Yeah, so I hope you guys can hear me.
Yeah. Are you listening, Tim?
Because he was absolutely responsible for multiple calls in the last 2 weeks. I think I've had somewhere between 6 and 8 phone calls of someone looking for a Keller Williams agent specifically.
Wow.
It was a come list me call. And those were because my husband cares about I don't even know what it's called, SOI?
Yes.
No.
Search engines.
Yeah, SEO. See, I don't care about these things. I care about selling houses. So
Yeah.
my husband does care about the SEO. So he has some kind of Google Juice thing working and we are getting most of the Prosper Salina, I hope that part's not recorded, KW calls. So people are calling me asking for KW Prosper Salina. So sorry if you're watching, but anyway, so we get the calls and I've gotten those listings just by going in. So
That's amazing.
really it's all repeat referral and then what my husband is doing to get leads for me. And
That's awesome.
You said yours a lot from repeat and referral. What are you doing to touch those clients to have them come back and to give you referrals?
I think the biggest thing for me and the biggest thing I do in my business is I'm about relationships. And I actually convinced, y'all want to hear this. I know Mike doesn't want to hear this. I actually convinced 2 sellers last week. Now's not the time for them to sell.
I think that's good.
Because I've shared with them at the table, I am more about building this relationship with you and helping you understand the market and what's happening and taking care of your family than I am about getting you to sell right now. So I build my business on providing the best service that I can. Tim will often tell me, you don't have to go do that. And I'm like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to answer this phone call. I'm going to go scrub. I've been in a house last week in a listing scrubbing cooktop and scrubbing cabinets and floors. And do I have to do that? No, I don't have to, but I do it because it sets me apart from the agents who don't do it. So I treat every single client like they're my last and like they're my only. And I usually, if they're young enough, like sometimes if they're an older client, they may not have social media, but if they have social media, I instantly friend them on Facebook, Instagram. I like everything that they post. I reach out and I ask how their kids are doing. We follow up with the 1-year house anniversary. Every single year we do a client event. And that is my favorite thing that we do all year long. We invite all the clients. This last year, we actually had it at our house. We invited them to bring their kids. We had Santa come in. I ordered this big backdrop. We had pictures done. We gave away gift cards and gave every single client a bottle of Bub. Because that's our thing. And it was just great, but it's a way that we connect with them and they're always sending us referrals. And so whenever any one of them send us a referral, whether it's somebody that actually ends up listing with us or buying with us or not, if the person calls me and says, hey, so-and-so referred me, I instantly send them a $50 gift card as a thank you. And it's my job then to convert that to an actual transaction. But we do a lot of things. If their kids are selling popcorn, we're going to buy the popcorn. We do scholarships and Prosper. I mean, like we're giving back a lot. So clients are going to see that. And that's a way to kind of, I think, keep your presence known with them. I don't know if I answered the question.
You did.
I have a tendency to talk, so I may not answer the question, but I'll answer 5 other questions in the process.
And mine's very similar to hers. You know, I have a primarily referral-based business. I think where a lot of people miss is, you know, and Angela mentioned this too, listings a lot of times are a long game. It's not you go out and immediately are doing things. I go over to people's houses and I help them pick out flooring that they think is going to give them the best ROI. Then they get a regular market report from me. I have my pipeline usually has anywhere from 30 to 40 listings in it where I'm sending monthly updates on numbers to people. But a lot of it is consistency and follow-up in addition to, you know, when you have a relationship like that with people, like she described, you can follow up regularly and then you become their expert. So if their neighbors like, hey, you know, I really need to, well, you know, Darby's been sending me updates forever. She's the person you need to call because she's the best, you know, because I don't disappear after the transaction. I don't disappear after I go over one time. You're kind of stuck with me and I will continue to follow up. That's a big thing for me. I'm also really involved in the community. Most of my clients are move up or move out buyers right now. So that means either people needing more because of family situation or needing less and leaving Dallas because of a next phase of life situation, which that's been an addition the past 18 months is the move out buyers. But that being said, you know, I've really expanded where I'm serving because of that, because, you know, the bread and butter of my business is in Carrollton because I've lived in Carrollton for 20 years. I've had kids go through schools there. I'm super involved in the community, but I've found myself going elsewhere because that's where my people are going. So a lot of the similar listing things, and we were both talking before, we've both been on a ton of appointments in the past week because people are freaking out and ready to list their houses now. So you should be getting listing calls if you're following up with your database right now because everybody's thinking about it.
And I wanted to tag on one of the things you said about the long game. So another thing that my husband does that's amazing. He does the tax protests for us. So I used to protest, y'all understand when I say tax protest, I don't mean I'm literally protesting it for them. We're sending them comps and helping them figure out how they could protest their taxes. So I used to do that. And then when my husband got his license, I was like, if you could just do this, that would be fantastic. So now we even have it set up through our website that old clients, anybody from the neighborhoods that we talk to. So like if in Windsong Ranch where we live, if someone comments about tax protests on there, my husband always pipes up, hey, send me an email and I'll get it for you. So you've got all of these people sending you their email, their phone number, their name and their address, and all of the upgrades and things that are in their house. And then he sends them the information for free. We've had 2 people this year that sent Tim gift cards because when we said free, they were like, how could you possibly do this for free? And we're thinking, because we just got all your information. And then he puts it into, before Tim got his license and I was doing real estate all by myself, I had a file on my desktop that said past, present, and potential client. And that's how I organized everything. And I had no database, no pipeline system because I'm very artsy fartsy creative. I don't do that kind of stuff, but he was all spreadsheets. He comes from corporate America. So he has our platform. Again, I don't even remember what it's called when you the CRM. It's all the initials and stuff. I don't know. We have the CRM system and he sends out a monthly mailer and he can tell me, he'll say like, hey, so-and-so is in the database. They've been spending 30 minutes looking at the listings. You might want to call them. And so his job kind of is really following through on the data like that, but he's long game setting me up so that I can get those appointments and go out there. And so the tax protest, if you want to be an expert in your neighborhood and you want to get your name out there, you want to get people's confidence built up, because I've gotten leads from other people. So he's done a tax protest for this family and this guy happens to work at such and such corporation and they've got people moving in and he'll tell them, oh, hey, these people were really nice, call them. And then they're referring me their family. So just by doing that one service for them, you're getting information and you're building trust in you as the real estate expert. So.
And for new agents in here, how much information are you sending? Is it a big packet? Are you just writing a quick comps? What are you doing?
So on the tax protest, you mean? So this would be a Tim question because I don't have time for the tax protests right now, but he's pulling.
Yeah, I can tell you what I do too.
Yeah, so he's pulling the lowest sold. Basically, we tell clients we're doing the reverse of what I would do if I was coming to list your house. If I'm coming to list I'm gonna try and find the highest solds. When we're trying to protest the taxes, we're trying to find the lowest closed, and you can also go back and look at the neighbors who have about the same square footage and see what their tax assessment is. Because sometimes you can have the same floor plan on the same street, and this person has fought their taxes and the tax assessment is down, and this person hasn't and it's high, and you can use that to say, hey, you've assessed them at that, my house is the same as this one. We also tell them to be looking for things like in certain neighborhoods, if we pull it up and we see that, hey, they back to the power line. Hey, make sure you mention that you back to the power line, send a picture of this. Oh, you had property damage because of the flood, send pictures of this, you know, what takes the value away from the home. And so that's, I mean, he's sending out the actual comps, all the houses, the numbers for them. So makes it pretty simple that all they have to do is go into the CAD, plug in the information, and then file a protest.
I don't provide that much information because I do not have a Tim.
Everybody needs a tip.
But I've done property tax protests since I first started. My first year in real estate, I put it on Nextdoor. Okay, values are out there at record highs. That's where I kind of built that. One client that responded to that, I have now done 5 deals with their family. You know, so, but now what I do it a little bit differently. I send out an email to my database with a link to a Google form. They enter in their information on a Google form. Then I run comps for neighborhoods. And again, since a lot of my business is in an area, I run all the previous year sales. And then I have a bulleted tip list, and that's what I send them. Then if they have additional questions, they reach out. If they want me to come check something out, I will. But that's what I've done to manage it. And I'll usually say, submit it by this date. I will get it to you by this date. And then I just block an afternoon where all I do is respond to emails. So that's how I do it.
Yeah, you need a Tim.
Yeah, I need a 10. I'm trying to get my husband to get licensed, but he's like,
He doesn't need the license, but
well, he has a job too.
What time of year are you sending that out? Like
So-
first contact?
So it depends. So this year, Denton County was really late. So I actually did 2 runs this year. I did, you know, so if you guys know I teach the stuff on social media. So your first video intro into this is you get your tax bill in the mail and you hold it up and say, look what came in today. I'm going to be sending out information about how to protest. Then you do that. Then you can link it in your stories, link it on your social media, in addition to sending it out. So I usually do it when I start to see people posting about it. And then when I get mine, since I live in Denton County, and since it was late this year, I did 2 runs. I did one for Dallas and Collin, and then I did another one for Denton County.
and didn't actually send it out in phases. They didn't send the entire, because we had clients in multiple parts of Denton County. And some of them got it at this point, and then some of them, it was a few weeks later. Like, this has been the latest. We're still getting the tax protests. I had one of our neighbors reach out to me today, actually asking for it.
When usually the deadline, you need to check with your counties for the deadline to protest. Historically, it's been mid to late May.
Yeah.
Denton County, they extended to June 18th.
Yep.
That's now gone, but so I would put this on your, what would you say, April?
Yeah.
Like your April plan.
And I tell all of our clients at closing, when they're buying, I tell them, hey, we'll send you an email. I used to tell them, I'll send you an email in January to remind you to file your homestead, although that
Yeah.
they can do it immediately now once they change their address. You know that that's a big new thing. But they do have to have the address on their license. It has to be changed to the new address before they can file that. So just a little info there, but yeah, I think we send out something to all of our clients, and it might be in March. Just getting ahead of it, saying that, hey, the assessor's probably out there right now, starting to do the assessments. When you get it, let us know.
And if you want to connect with your community on this, what I used to do before COVID was I would rent a room at Rosemead Rec Center in Carrollton. I would publicize an event, come protest your taxes. I'd have all the neighborhoods, stacks of comps run. I would sit there where it was almost like appointments. I would enlist the help of a couple of other agents to come be there with me to help run specific information and consult with people. But that's a really good way if you are trying to make a face-to-face connection to do it. And I would order pizza and have drinks and just come.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I would do that, but I haven't done that since COVID, and I didn't do it this year, but you know, pre-COVID, that was a really, really great thing to do. And a lot of my past clients would come, and were there, they'd tell other people how great it was to work with me, and I would always get referrals from that.
That's awesome. That's an excellent.
Yes.
All right, Jenny, where do yours come from?
You were talking about listings, right?
Uh-huh.
So the majority of mine do come from referral. That's really how I get everything. But in the beginning, I did everything to see what worked, right? You've got to try it to see what your niche is. Like I just started doing open houses again because the market's shifting, right? We were so lucky from COVID. Who had to do an open house because you normally had your listing sold within 2 days. And now, it's back to the grindstone and having to do that. And I had to refresh myself on how to do an open house and how many signs I had to put out and all that. And that was almost like, oh yeah, I have to collect information at this open house. I mean, I had to
Holly teaches a really good course. If you need
I know, I need a refresher, right? Oh my gosh. So, yeah, but really, I've been very lucky because obviously majority of us start with buyers and then all of a sudden you get your name out there and then somebody wants you to list their house. So, but I'm very lucky because the majority of my business comes from some kind of horse connection. So I may list a townhome down in Oak Lawn, but somehow it still has a connection to a horse person. Or I may have a ranch in Pilot Point or Aubrey. So I'm rather diverse as far as that, but it comes down to who I know or who might have a connection with.
How do you follow up?
You mean as like if they contact me about?
Or just, do you have a database going where you're?
So I am very different than these very organized ladies over here. And I feel like it's like my numbers aren't as like, I don't do as many quantity as what they do. I do have a larger price point. So literally my organization is on a paper calendar and a whiteboard.
There is no shame in that game.
Yeah, I was like, that is my organization. There's no CRM. There is literally, and I have a little red book that I carry that has Wonder Woman on the front of it to keep me positive about what I'm doing. Yeah, so everything's on paper or a dry erase board, and that's how I keep everything organized. But I feel like you did a great example of saying that, and especially like when you said you were scrubbing the floors and all that. I mean,
Yeah.
if you really want to be considered the best, you have to do what it takes to do it. And I can't tell you how many times my new listing that's coming up, it's going to be, well, it was going to be a $3 million listing. It's going to be a 2.85 when we list it. But like my client is very, like I've gotten her every person, I've given her a referral. I bet I've referred 5 people. And you know what? She has complained to me about every single person that I referred, and they're awesome because they've all done something for me or for one of my other clients, and I've gotten raving reviews about them. And last night she texted me, I set up the videographer, the photographer, I set up Aaron to come do the listing. We're going to do it on Monday when I get off my plane, get my car, go over there, get it all organized. She texts me and she's just like, started talking about painter. And then she's just like, I just can't be ready. And so this time I went, and then she goes, and she has her own maid, but she's like, I need a housekeeper that can clean a full remodeled house or a new construction. That's the kind of, and I thought, I'm not referring another person to you because you've complained about every person. I'm going to bend over backwards for you for so many times and be your support person. But this is the first time I text back. I go, no problem. I said, we'll list in July. How's that going to go in Texas for a $3 million listing in Texas while the market's changing, right? But you can only push so far. You can only follow up so much. You can only do what you can do. Because if you push too hard, it could end up in the other direction, right? So this time I just said, you know what? I don't want you to be stressed. I'm just going to follow up with you next week. And I ignored the question about the housekeeper because I was like, I have amazing people that I love and I love to refer them out. And I kind of feel bad for them now, right? So I'm like, I think that you have to do what you do. But if you're not willing to go the extra mile, if you're not willing to clean up the house, or the last photo shoot I did, I spent 4 hours moving stuff because the owner thought that he had organized. 4 hours. Yeah, 4 hours. And then that was the photographer. That was Aaron's time, you got to do, if you're not willing to bend over backwards right now, you're in the wrong business.
And I love that all 3 of them do their business so different because it shows you there are so many ways to do this business. You can do it from a paper calendar and a Wonder Woman notebook.
But it's the same level of service.
Yeah,
I think that's
absolutely.
really
That's the
important. So it
common
doesn't
theme.
matter how you roll it out, but we have an answer for every question.
Can I ask a question of the
course.
room? How many of you are new agents? Or newer? How many of you have had listings? Okay, so one of the things that I kind of wanted to go back to, because I feel like we've all kind of, now I've had my license for 6 years.
I was 6 years in February.
Yeah, and so,
I'm just going into my 7th year.
yeah, so we have some, I wouldn't say we're like the 30-year experience, but we're selling enough volume. We've got a lot of experience. So I think when you ask how we're getting listings, it's very different than when I first was getting listings. So I don't want to brush over that and not address when you're new. How are you going to get listings if you're trying to compete, against somebody who's been in and is getting all these listings? So if I go back to my first year, I was rookie of the year that year, and I did right about 11 million in volume. What I did, I met every single neighbor in my neighborhood. I joined the women to play bunco. And there were plenty of nights where I was like, I don't want to leave the house tonight, but I told my husband, I'm going to go and I'm going to meet the people. And every time I would meet people and I would come back having met somebody that was interested in selling. And it got to the point where a few months in, I would walk in and they would all tell their friends, oh, she's the realtor. And they're always asking me for advice. Well, when I was a brand new agent, and you might want to cover yours for this piece.
I was a brand new agent. I'm glad that Mike left the room. So you're gonna think this is easy. All right. Well, it's being recorded, so.
Okay, well.
I'm just gonna spill it because it's the truth and so you're good.
Good name, set me free. Okay, so my first year as a listing agent, as a brand new agent, I didn't have much value. Okay, do you understand? To a seller, as a brand new agent that hasn't worked a contract, I've never sold a house, I don't have a lot of value. Other than just being a happy person that's willing to serve in any way I can, my value was probably down here. So what I did to get those listings, I met the people, the women in the neighborhood. And then I would give them what I called my friendly neighborhood discount before they even asked for it. I'll give you 1% off of your listing if you'll use me to.
I did not do that.
Do that, yeah.
No, listen to me, folks. Listen to me. 1% off, 1% off of my side of the commission. I didn't discount the buyer side, 1% off my side if they would buy with me also. And so I got 2 transactions out of every single one of those clients. And I have sold 42 homes in that neighborhood. And people who there was an agent with a family member in this office who called me to sell their house. And I said, don't you want to talk to your family member first? And they said, we want you because you're the neighborhood expert. I get listing calls from that neighborhood because they know that I am the expert in that neighborhood. I have sold 42 houses. Do you think I give a discount now? No, because I increased my value. And as soon as that first year was done and I had all those listings under my belt and I got the confidence, I didn't need to do that anymore. And then I knew my value and my value had increased. So then I went in and it's the full 3%. And I remember the first time that I came home and I told Tim, I got the listing and I didn't even discount it. I didn't even mention it. And he was like, okay, good. But I was so excited because finally I knew my value and I knew when to walk away from a seller that didn't know my value and didn't care or appreciate my value. And so now very few and far between if I'm going to discount. I think one recently, and that was because this was a past client and they killed me that they were going to go with somebody else. And it was a 1.45 million and I knew that it would sell immediately. And I was like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to lose this. So I did the 1% discount, but I don't do that anymore, but I am the neighborhood expert because of it. And I got a ton of business from those people on their 2 transactions. And then they referred me, their family and their friends. If you're a brand new agent, you may have to do it because you may not be able to get that 6% up against a top agent that's doing.
Did their family and friends expect the same discount?
No, so that's a good question. Some of them knew about it. Some of them didn't because I would present it to those people as a neighbor discount. I am the neighborhood expert. I live here. You're my neighbor. I'm going to give you this neighborly discount. Most of them know I didn't have to do that. And so we took it as this is my marketing budget. So I wasn't paying, I had started to pay for Zillow leads. Have y'all ever done that? Zillow or Realtor leads? Don't do it. It is so expensive. And it's like they get you in this contract and you've got to pay for a whole year, whether you're getting quality leads, which you're not or not. And I felt like it was a waste, but by taking that 1% off, I was getting a buy and a sale. and I was getting my name out there. And don't you know, I sent a just sold postcard to every single person in that whole neighborhood every time I sold a house. And so every Christmas, we would send our family Christmas card to every person in the whole neighborhood. We still do it. Every year, we would send a Thanksgiving card with our family picture that said, we're so thankful for this neighborhood, and we're the #1 listing agent again in the neighborhood year after year because of you guys. So thank you. And so that's like the farming, right?
Yeah.
Farming your neighborhood, becoming the expert.
How do the new agents get their value?
Don't hang out with other new agents. That's one thing that you see a lot of new agents doing is going into the happy hours and doing all the stuff with other
Oh, yeah.
agents. Hang out with people that could be your clients.
Yeah.
Well said.
Like, I think that's a huge.
I don't go
thing.
to happy hours at all. Do you?
No,
No, I don't need a free lunch from a lender. I don't need a coffee. I don't want to meet with so-and-so. I want to work. And if you want to be a top agent too, you better be after the working part and not the social, unless the social is leading to the working aspect. And so how do you get your value? For me, it was having the more listings I had, and you have to be an extreme learner in this business, because I feel like as a brand new agent, you pass your real estate exam and you know how to pass a real estate exam, but you don't know how to sell a house. And that part you're kind of thrown to the wolves. So you better get yourself a really good mentor who's going to walk you through it and hold your hand, because you don't want to screw it up for your client. And then the more you sell and the more you learn and you become that expert, you get the confidence. And that's where the value comes in. I think once you're confident enough to walk into that room and you know that you're going to be an asset to that seller, boom, you've got the value.
and I think a way that you become a community expert is by being involved in your community.
Sure.
So for me, I've always really loved to volunteer. That's been a huge part of how I've built my business. And I have not volunteered because I expect to get business. And that's really, really important, because a lot of people will know why you're there if you're not there for the right reasons. So
Yep.
find causes that you're passionate about. If you love dogs, go volunteer at the animal shelter. If you're really I've tried to always find things first, like I have I've had to create some rules for myself around volunteering because I'm a serial overcommitter. And so one is, does it mean something to my kids? So I found that I was, doing a lot of stuff. My son started middle school this year and I was tapped to be the president of that PTA, and I was going to do it. I didn't want to do it. And I realized what the time commitment was, because this was like a major situation, very different than their elementary school. And I asked him, I'm like, do you care if I do this? He's like, well, Mom, I want you at school sometimes, but not all the time. So what did that tell me? I don't need to do it.
Yeah.
And so I went back to them. I said, look, I still want to be involved in some capacity. I'm happy to take on a different role, but I just don't have the bandwidth for this after we've now met and gone over the position. So my kids are always my first thing. I've always tried to do things with my kids. So my daughter and I do National Charity League. Great place to volunteer and meet a lot of different people. I'm a Carrollton person. I love Carrollton. So I've served on planning and zoning. I've been on the Neighborhood Advisory Commission twice now. I was their Rising Star in 2018, where the city council recognized me for my contributions to the city. That's a great one. I think that's my #1 thing on my volunteer stuff on my resume. I got involved in my chamber, but I didn't just start going and networking at events. I joined the leadership class. I've done 8 deals from fellow classmates in my leadership MetroCrest class. I get asked to speak on different things I'm involved in. So basically it's kind of, to Angela's point, if you become the expert in your community, the word of mouth travels with you. But if people know you really know a community because they're about to put in this big infrastructure thing and they're redoing all the pipes throughout the city, I mean, you can share some good information with your clients and you become known in different places. So I think for a new agent, get involved with people that aren't in real estate. Because we have this great office to support you, to provide you with training. You have mentors. I mean, I know I'll meet with anybody who wants to meet, but I think when it comes down to it, you have to find who your client's going to be, and it's not going to be anybody in this office.
Jenny, do you have anything to add to getting started?
I think the biggest thing is you have to get a hold of your drunk monkey that talks to you all the time, because I had buyers, and I didn't have very many listings. And then I did a deal with a really high-powered agent who sells a lot of multi-million-dollar things. And I remember asking him, and I was like, do you have a listing presentation? He goes, no, And the moment that I realized that, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this dude is selling 38 million a year and he has no listing presentation. I don't have a listing presentation. And I was like, I had to kick my drunk monkey to be like, quit talking yourself out of going to a listing and quit talking yourself out of how you're going to get beat out of that listing. Because you have value, you might have it in a different way. Maybe your listing presentation is different than somebody else, or what you say is different. But you have to know, like you said, what your value is, and you can't listen to that little voice that's talking to you and telling you that, oh, you're not probably good, or why would you compete with this? Because you're probably going to get beat because the other person's better, and da da da. You have to get rid of that. To me, that's the biggest thing. Especially when you're a new agent, because that's always in the back of your head, is that you don't have as much experience, or, you don't do it the way so-and-so does it. And you don't do it the way so-and-so does it because you're you, and you have to remember that.
And I think, we have an office that has market share and success in the market. Just because you don't have experience doesn't mean that you can't carry the market center. Or me, like, part of the reason I started on a team was I was really worried I was going to be lonely because I'm super social, but my team had won a bunch of awards. And so I became, when I would talk to prospective listing or sellers or buyers, we have done this. You become part of the collective we. And so you can use anything that Keller Williams Plano has earned and put that in your, either your mental rotation of what you say repeatedly, or if you have a listing packet, put it in your listing packet.
And I should go back and say, I started almost immediately as a listing agent.
Me too.
I did have my first 2 clients were buyers, but I listed one of their houses, and then I started with the listings. Like, I got my license in 16 and had, September of 16, so it doesn't have to be in 6 years this year. So 4 listings, or not listings, 4 clients closed before the end of 2016. So I got my license in September and I had the 4 done by December. And then that whole next year I did 32 transactions that year. So if you want to be a listing agent, you can be a listing agent. You don't have to just be in the business for a long time before you start you just need to meet the people, and everything is about people work with who they know and trust. And so you start meeting these people, like if you play tennis and you're playing tennis with people, you're going to start to get to know them. And then over time, they're probably going to ask you what you do. Or if you're into golf, so many people are out there golfing and you get to meet the people. Maybe you're part of a country club, or wherever it is that you're working, and I do, you're right with the serving. It is disgusting to me if you think that you're going to go to church and try and get your next leads. Like, I don't do that. I have big rules about not working on that piece. So I'm totally in line with.
I'll do whatever anybody asks me, but I'm never the one to bring it up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. So it's more about meeting people.
Yeah.
And forming relationships.
And I think with listings and buyers too, if you understand real estate, you could do both.
Yes.
I know that I got really, really mad when I first started because one of my mentors told me that I was naturally a listing agent and that, it's obvious you hate buyers. And it really made me mad because I was doing, I'm like, wait a second, I can do anything. But then if I think about it, it's like, okay, before I was in real estate, I planned educational trainings and events, and I did training for 15 years. So if I go into a listing presentation, even when I'm on calls, my stuff is I say the same stuff every time, even though I don't ever go through a formal listing presentation. It's in the packet because I've lost once because I didn't have something in the packet. So there is a packet because I don't like to lose. But but the thing is like you know what you like too, and you should enjoy this business.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that the goal is to be able to support yourself and your family. But I know for me, I would take 20 listings over a buyer, even though there's a cost associated with it, just because I enjoy it more. And I feel like I can manage my time better with it. But I know people that love buyers. Like my old business partner, she's at KW Denton. She sells a ton of real estate. I think she did 105 units last year. She loves buyers, loves them. And that's always been like 70 or 80% of her business. I've always been 60-40 listings to buyers.
Yeah.
Just because that's my preference.
Well, and also sellers in a lot of markets, not recently, because I feel like my sellers in this market in the last however 6 months to a year, they're the move away sellers. But most sellers are also going to be buyers. So you better be good at doing both, right?
Yes.
All right, we're kind of talking too about how the market's starting to shift.
Yes.
How are your conversations changing when you're going after a listing appointment? You said
So-
like just recently you told two.
Yeah, so my conversations haven't changed because I've always, I tell people when I go in, I don't sugarcoat things because it's not gonna help you to sell your house. If I sugarcoat this, if I walk in and tell you you have the best house I've ever seen, I think we should list it for $5 million, it doesn't help them. So I always tell them up front, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. My conversation recently is you need to understand the market. And you need to know that there is a difference in the market today than what it was 2 months ago. And here's what's happened. And then I go backwards and I tell them, okay, do you understand what caused this crazy market? You know, after COVID, these rates went historically low. They were the best they've ever been. And we had a lack of inventory. We talk about that. And then it just created this perfect storm. And then we talk about how there was a slight, not a decrease, but a slight like slowdown towards third quarter last year. And you have to be really in business to see it and feel it. And there was a slight like this, and then all of a sudden, I think we all found out the rates were gonna go up multiple times for 2022. And so what you had was the buyers were rushing the market. They were trying to beat that rate increase. So from January to March, you had the hottest sellers market in the history of ever. And it was nuts. And at every appointment, I kept telling people there is a window of opportunity. And I don't know when that window is gonna close, but I suggest you sell this house today. And so now when I'm meeting with them, I'm telling them, look, we have been told that the rates are gonna go up. I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball. I would have never predicted what happened over the last year and a half was gonna happen. If I had told myself I was gonna buy a house in 2019 and it more than doubled its value.
You would bought 5.
Yes. But so I'm telling them, you know, I don't have a crystal ball, but what I do know is right now, and what I do know is that we've been told these rates are going up. So you better get your house on the market because the higher those rates go, the less affordable your house is to these buyers. And so my thing right now is pushing, we got to go. We have got to move. You are like, the train has already left the station. You're running now to catch it. And so creating that urgency in them of like, if you wait till July to make sure your house is ready, you may miss the market because those rates, when they went up what it was yesterday, they went up again. Buyers, I mean, this is
They're gonna
hard.
be
This is
7%
hard.
by the end of this week, y'all.
What?
7% end of this week.
Yeah.
So if you've got a
Right.
listing, it needs to be on how, like
Yeah.
some of those that are under contract, that are in option.
Hopefully they lock their rate. And then
Where's
here,
some wood?
yeah, and here's your statement for buyers and sellers. If people are asking you questions, you have one statement that applies to both. The only market we know is the one that we are in. Goes for buyers. So buyer, you know your rate today is 6%. Lock your rate. Because you can always modify it if it went down, but you know the one we're in today. Sellers, this is the price today. And like, that's one conversation I've been having with a lot of my sellers, because we both were talking earlier. We've both been on like a crazy amount of listing appointments in the past week, just because everybody is freaking out right now. But the thing is I'm telling a lot of mine that, you know, if you're 2 weeks out, we're not gonna set a price yet. We're gonna hold off because we need to see what happens with these pendings, these actives, especially if it's in a neighborhood where we're starting to see inventory sit a little bit. And I'm reaching out to the agents on the pendings. I'm doing as much research as possible. So I go in with knowledge. I had a listing appointment this morning. I know I'm competing with 2 other agents on it. And on this one in particular, they're like, well, wow, you said this thing that nobody else said. And oh, I didn't realize you could call the agent and find information. I'm like, yeah, it comes today. She said she called me once it closed and let me know what it sold for. Because if there hasn't been a comp in an area, the only resource you have is the agent who's about to close something. So
There, I actually had one in, this was funny because you would probably know this agent, so I'm not gonna say the name.
Okay.
There was an agent in the neighborhood that I listed one in Carrollton where I was asking, I hadn't had a listing in that price point in probably a couple of months. So I was trying to get an idea of, you know, I think this is where I'm gonna price it, but I'm not positive. And I wasn't as confident, so I wanted to be an expert. I called the agent who lives in the neighborhood that has sold. There were only 5 sales in that neighborhood in the last year, and she had sold 3 of them, I think, because she lives there. So I called her and she's like, does Keller Williams teach people to do this? Because you're the 3rd Keller Williams agent to call me this week. And I was like, Well, since we're all independently owned and operated, I doubt it's something that's taught. But you are the agent who has sold 3 homes in a neighborhood where there's only 5 homes sold. So that's probably why you're getting the calls.
Yeah.
But
She's probably mad she's not selling that one. So
the other
probably
thing that
why
I'm
she-
telling my sellers right now, when we're in the listing appointment, usually, so I'm bringing them the comps, we're looking back, but what I tell them is, when you look at January to March, the listings were, I mean, the prices were like this, right, through the roof. And we couldn't even keep up with the price. We had I would tell people, okay, well, let's price it with what's closed, knowing we're probably gonna go 100 over asking, or we're gonna get this many offers, whatever. That's not the way it is right now. And so what I'm telling them is, if I price you based off of the comps, like in the past, when we would do comps to price a home, we're looking backwards and then we might go a little bit over or try and get out there. No, right now, if you're pricing up here because the comps say that everything in the last 2 months sold here, but the active listings are all down here, you're gonna be overpriced. So I'm telling them, we're focusing right now on the active listings because those are your competition. That's who we're up against right now. We know that these prices are in the past, great. If we're gonna have an appraisal and we have no waiver, whatever, here it is, this should help us, but we need a price here, knowing what's happening, knowing that the rates are going up. You need to be ready. So we're doing more conservative pricing. But it changes the market. I mean, the way that I was doing a listing presentation last year, the way I was doing a listing presentation 2 months ago, and the way I'm doing it today. And I don't have a presentation either. And I think what you'll probably hear from all of us, if you walk in with confidence, because I didn't understand that. When I was a rookie, I wanted to know, what do I need to put in this listing presentation? What should it look like? And some top agent was like, you don't need a presentation, just walk in there like you know everything. And I was like, what? I don't understand. Well, I didn't know everything and I wasn't confident. Now I do know it. You can call me, like I had 2 calls coming from a listing appointment yesterday of come list me in that neighborhood that I was saying. And all I had to do was say, how many square feet do you have? Great. And then I said, what street are you on? I know the whole neighborhood. They told me the street and I said, oh, you're north facing, aren't you? Great. That's going to do really well in this neighborhood. I already knew without pulling comps what the value was because I'm an expert in that neighborhood. You need to become an expert in whatever neighborhood you're really focusing. And sometimes you can spread your net too far. And if you want to reach all of Prosper, you want to reach all of Carrollton, you want to reach all of, Plano, it might be too far. And you might want to bring that net in and get really hyper local, focus on your neighborhood because you live there and you know it. You should know how to sell your neighborhood, right? If you live in an apartment, does anybody live in an apartment? I mean, I've had to ask this. Yeah, you may not have a house yet. But you know what? You live in an apartment with a bunch of people who probably gonna buy someday. Start meeting them. You could also help them find leases, because at some point those leasers may become owners. So you can get to know the people where you're at. What about you, Jenny? Have your conversations changed?
Yes, and I think it's really difficult because I think that the sellers are still 3 weeks ago,
Yeah,
right? And
right.
they don't understand, or a month ago, and so I actually have one listing in a 55 and up community. And it's, it's like, this is how many people look at a normal house. And
Right,
this is how many
right.
people are looking for 55 and up community, right?
Mhm.
So even though we've had the conversation literally 3 times about rates going up, about the market is changing, they're like, but our house is worth more and it is better than the other comparable homes that are listed, but we don't want to lower the price. Well, it's really, right now, it's about pricing because they're having to pay more with a higher mortgage rate, like it is about the price. And so I'm about to have my 4th conversation with them this week about it and be like, you know what? I went and I just was like, I was looking at fortune.com and I was reading all these articles and I'm going to be like, I'm just going to. It's
The other
not just
thing
me
is-
saying it, you have to have the
back it up, yeah.
documentation to back it up.
Helping them understand too, take that price point and put a 3.5 interest rate with it, or put a 4% interest rate with it and look at the payment. Now look at that payment with a 6% interest rate.
Yep.
And you can talk about, your house just became way less affordable.
Yeah.
It costs this much more to buy your house at the same price right now because of this rate. Now, picture what's gonna happen when those rates go up again and your house becomes less affordable. So you are better to price it right now and get it sold.
Yeah.
Great conversation.
Yeah.
I want to be sure we're respectful of everybody's time, but who has a question? Does anybody have a question? Yes.
Let's see, how are you managing your client's expectation, because like you said, there was a meteoric rise, and so it was like, I got 50,000 K over listing, but helping them understand, well, yeah, your neighbor got 50K over listing 2 months ago, but your house is being listed so much higher now, so if you don't get 50K over listing, it doesn't mean you didn't get, you know what I mean, like help, because people get stuck on how much over listing they got as
Well, and
a
I think that's
seller.
confidence, right, with your information. So, for me, and anybody that's like come and talk to me, I run comps the same way every time. Everything within 15% size, 10 years in age, start in the neighborhood at a quarter of a mile, and I work my way out. So their neighbor's house may not be the same. That's the first conversation that we have. And if you know exactly where your number's coming from, that will tell you, so you have confidence in speaking to that. I advocate for getting it right the first time. But the other thing, if I have a client that is just adamant that this is what I'm gonna do, we make a deal. Our deal is that, okay, I will list it where you want to list it. But if we're not seeing the traffic, offers, whatever, after 2 weeks, we go to my price. And I've had my price be $50,000 less. We end up getting multiple offers and they get what they listed.
And put it in the listing agreement. In the listing agreement.
I always did that.
Yes.
So, but that's part of the confidence. So, so if people are adamant and, your confidence about you just have to be confident in the information that you have. And, Denton in the shift, because I didn't get to go to the whole shift series, but in some of it, one of the things that he talked about, I think in the first one, was to be a local economist. So one thing you'll notice, we all know what's happening in the market. You need to be able to answer any question that somebody may have.
Educate them.
Right.
Is the thing. You're coming in, and that's what I'll tell them. I am an expert in this field. I am the top of this. This is my sales volume. This is what I do. I am in this 100% all day, every day. I'm in contracts. This is what I'm seeing. I have listings from this price point all the way to this price point, from this city to that city. And here is what I'm seeing across the board. I'm telling you as an expert, this is what's happening. And to get your house sold for the most, we need to price it right now. And it's once you go in there and they know that they can trust you because you have this experience, you have this expertise. I don't get the fighting with them as much. I've got one seller right now. He's got a very unique property, and we hate the word unique, but I advised him to lower it. Like, I thought he should have probably gone 45 under where he listed originally. And we got 2 offers that were way below. And I've tried to explain to him, we've got to get ahead of this, but interest rates are going up. We tried your price. The buyers have told you that that's not what they think it is. It was so unique that I didn't know price. I even called 2 appraisers and they were like, oh gosh, I don't know either. Like, I hope you don't have to have an appraisal. I hope you get a cash deal. So I told him, we'll try it at this price because we really didn't know. I mean, it was like a unicorn property. We will try it at this price. So we finally did lower the price by 20K this morning. I was hoping for more, but I'm going to make it as a start. So it's trying to educate them and understand that you're doing this to help them. And that's why I tell them, again, like, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It doesn't help you if I tell you what you want to hear. Sure, let's list it way up here because your neighbor got that. It doesn't help you at the end of the day if we have to reduce the price or you've got longer days on market and you miss the buyer.
My question was more about the differential. People are caught up in not what it was listed for, but my neighbor got 20K over listing, 50K over listing, and they're not understanding.
When you start showing them the
You ask
active
questions.
comps,
When was that? How big is their house?
Show them the active comps that are currently on the market that are the competition. How many days the active comps have been sitting there and have they had price reductions? Because that's how I just showed 2 sellers this week. Okay, I understand this is what you thought. Now let me show you. By the time I'm done, I ask them, what do you think your house is worth? And automatically they're like, yeah, I was hoping it was this, but now I understand why it's here. So it's a matter of educating them. It's not about, so they may come into it thinking, my house is this because of that. If you can't rationalize with the seller, then it's probably not a good connection anyways. I had to talk to a seller for like an hour yesterday about why Zillow, who says his house is worth 800,000, is wrong because his house is really 675 if we're pushing it. And I'm like, you understand that Zillow is using this like AI technology, okay? And they don't have a person in your house smelling the dogs and seeing the scratched up floors. And seeing that your neighbor has trash out on their front porch and putting, they don't see that you got a telephone pole in your backyard, sir. This is what a human is doing. I said, so congratulations, you made the right choice by bringing a person into the house to look at all of this and tell you what's going on.
And I was just gonna say, a good way to redirect that if you're face to face in an appointment, I think, is that what you're asking, how to do that?
Yeah, well, not, but it's not an appointment. It's like, once you got it under contract and you're going and they want to hold out
Right.
because the neighbor got X amount.
Oh,
over.
So I had my seller
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
You
I had
understand where
my
I'm coming with this
seller-
question now?
on that 1.4 or something that we got a beautiful offer, like 2 hours on the market. And y'all, this was only a few weeks ago. The market had already started to shift. Beautiful offer 2 hours on the market. And he's like, he's already agreed. And then he says, well, now, Angela, I want you to go back and tell him I want 25 more. And I want this and that. And I called him and I said, listen, I am an expert and I am trying to tell you that you are going to take this. If you hold, he said, well, maybe we should hold out for 2 weeks. And I said, are you telling me that you think in 2 weeks, you're going to get a higher offer than what you're getting today? And I had to talk him off that ledge and help him understand why that, because I just talked it out loud. I said, okay, let's talk through this. So in 2 weeks of sitting on the market, 14 days, you think that some buyer is going to come in and pay you more than what this offer is that's over asking right now within 2 hours? And as we started to talk through that, he was like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, we're good. So we had to get him back on the same frame of mind. Well, then, I'm not even kidding. That same week, other listings in the neighborhood going live with fools under that sales price weren't even under contract and they accepted offers like way below. And so if he hadn't listened, he would have lost that deal. So sometimes it's just talking it through with them and saying, Mr. Seller, please, let's be rational about this and let's talk through.
And a lot of times your first offer is your best offer.
It's so true.
Sometimes.
You know,
Sometimes it's a low baller trying
yeah,
to get it.
but I mean,
Right.
you get, well, and you know, and I think the other thing,
Counter.
you can also always go back, I go back to ethics a lot because I'm not a shoot for the stars list pricer, I'm a strategic pricer. Because I want to price houses where it is going to put my client in the best position to get everything and more than they want. That means you're not at the high end, I'm almost always at the average.
I price
Always.
conservatively.
Conservatively, yeah, and so, but the thing with that is that, you know, when it comes to what you're talking about, like if you're doing that, you're gonna get over. But so I always go back to ethics. I talk about my personal code of ethics a lot with sellers when they want me to do weird things. And I'm like, you know, we listed your house at this. You have no other offers. We're not gonna counter above that. Because we listed it at the price of what we think it is worth. Whatever people want to do beyond that is on them. I ethically cannot go back to them when we have no other offers and go over our list price. If we're under list price, that's different. But that's what I tell people when that situation comes up.
Yes, Jan.
Yeah, if you not guess the listing, but the seller told you, before you come, have another agent, they just want 1% to listing fee and the seller told they to choose me, but the expectation I could sell the higher price than other agent. So right now my house is in the market, but the price is I think it's overpriced, but the seller don't want to reduce the price. So normally how to come let the seller reduce the price and
I would have the conversation with them today. The rates just went up and they're going up again. And they are better off to get that price reduced now so that someone can lock in that rate on a contract. Because if they wait, they may be forced to lower it anyways. And I would have the conversation about not just, this isn't like stuff you're making up. It is a hardcore fact. The rates went up. Your house is less affordable. I am begging you to adjust this now before it's too late.
And I'd also look at your, because I'm typing, you know, so I have a seller communication plan, obviously. Like, so if we're not going into contract, I have certain things I send. I update my sellers every Tuesday and every Friday. So on Tuesdays, if in showing time, there's a really great, there's a lot of really great reports. There's a listing activity report. You can go in and pull everything in price ranges to show to them. So what I would go to them with data too, because it's really, really easy to pull. But, you know, I think one thing is, you know, if your house is sitting on the market, which we're going to be seeing a lot more of that, You have to have a plan for how you're going to communicate to your seller and make them still feel like you're doing their job. Even if they listed it at the price you recommended, even if you've done all this marketing stuff that you usually do and none of it's working, you have to give them peace of mind that you are working to sell their house. And so, when you go to have those conversations about reduction, you can come with what's going on in the market, but go with some data. And I'm telling you, Showing Time, they have free reports that are great for that.
Anything else? We're after 3:00, so I want to be respectful of y'all's time. That went so fast.
Yes,
We didn't get to social media or branding. We talked to listings, but I think that's probably, I think that's probably what everybody's coming up against right now is that issue. We've done our social media classes with you.
And I'm always happy to do
You
another one.
had to raise your hand. I know. Do you have a?
Oh,
Yeah.
like when you dropped it 20K, like how long did you wait to drop that price?
2 weeks, but we had gotten offers in that time.
Oh,
Those offers were under, and so,
okay.
and we were having showings. But yeah, there's a lot more details that I would have to share but yes. But I don't necessarily recommend waiting 2 weeks. If you know that it's not right, you'll know that it's not right because you're not getting showings.
Yeah.
In this case, we were getting showings. We
Okay.
even got offers, but the offers were way under. So I wanted to explain to him, look, here's the feedback we've gotten. They said your house needs updating for this price. Here's what they're expecting.
Tell me.
Jenny,
Yes, sir.
you working in farm and ranches? When do your price reduction start? What's your days on market?
So here's what's unique about a farm and ranch. It's kind of like my little 55 and up community. So even when things are selling in a day or two in a regular residential on a farm and ranch, I still tell people it's probably that 6 to 8 months. Because it takes such a specialized buyer. Now, it depends what type of farm and ranch you're talking about. If it's a cute little house with 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and they have a little 2 or 3 stall barn, that's gonna sell in 2 to 3 days. But if you're talking where it has a 6,000 square foot home, they have 40 stalls, they have an arena, they have a round pen, they've got, catch pens, I got loafing sheds. That is so specialized that it's gonna take time. It's like selling a $3 million home. It takes time, it takes the right buyer to come along, So I still tell them now, this is 6 to 8 months. Like it could be that long. It could go quicker because there could be the right person looking for that specialized property, but it just takes time.
Anything else? We good?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. That was here. We'll be doing more of these. So anyway, we appreciate your knowledge. All right. Thanks, guys. Be sure you get a drink in the back, get a snack.
We did.
You did, and we'll continue. Continue drinking that.
I wish I had an appointment.
It's Taco Tuesday.